Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play The Messenger. In the last part we got to the Searing Crag, and now I've been thrown up to the Glacial Peak. And fun fact, this is one of the few times you can outright tell I had to do a jump cut between parts. Because when you load into this level from the title screen, it doesn't do that fancy "you got thrown up here by Kolos and Seuss's" animation. Now, if you can't tell by the obvious aesthetics and the name, this is our ice level. So anything that looks like the little ice platform I'm standing on right now is slippery. It's not the most intrusive ice physics out there, but it is notable. However, anything that doesn't have that finish, such as the snow I was just standing on, the walls, etc., you're completely safe from ice physics on them. With that said, we're already at our first ship for the level, so let's see what the shopkeeper has to say about all this. Can't buy anything to boot. So about the current area. I'm finally near the mountain summit. Looks like my adventure's about to come to an end. Clearly you haven't watched the trailer. Pardon? Never mind. Hey, it's cold and slippery out there. Be careful. Okay, any stories to share? Of course, here's one for you. There once was a village settled in a land of ice and snow. Food was scarce, but not as much as heat. Their elders spoke of a lush grove, safe, abundant, with comfortable weather to boot. The only problem was that grove lay on the other side of a permanent hailstorm which could take weeks to cross. One day, a brave couple left their young boy behind to attempt what the village called the trek. They would scout all the way to the grove and confirm its existence, then come back to the village and lead everyone to a better life. Like all who attempted the trek before them, they sadly and predictably never came back. Over the following decades, that boy grew up with only one goal in mind, to take on the trek himself and find his parents alive at the grove, or dead in the ice. Figuring they may have simply been ill-prepared, he trained every day until he was 5 years older than his parents were when they left for the trek, then set off for his own attempt. The hailstorm's first bite wasn't as bad as he thought it would be, but the ice-cold soil slowly worked its way into his bones. After days of walking through the storm without realizing it was all just a metaphor playing out in his troubled young adult mind, he stumbled upon a no pun intended chilling sight. His parents frozen solid in a block of ice. The shock was too strong. He remained there, cursing, pondering, and cursing again until the cold took him to become a part of the ice block. The end. What? What do you mean, what? No moral or at least a proper ending? Sometimes stories can be harsh. It might just be the very message they mean to convey about life. You need to think about what transpired and find your own takeaways. There are no wrong answers as long as they ring true to you. Maybe, but this one really felt like a pointless story. And it might just be the case that for you it was. Or you could consider the implications of our adventurer being 5 years older than his parents when he found them. Can you imagine gazing upon those who were your protectors and mentors, realizing they are actually younger than you? Your bearers of truth, the wise ones, those you aspired to be like? A harsh reality indeed. You thought they knew it all, had it all figured out, that they were centered and filled with purpose. Yet there you stand, beholding the one pillar you ever took for granted and used for stability, physically crystallized yet mentally shattered before your very eyes. Had they really found inner peace already when you knew them, meaning you're the one who missed the mark, or were they simply excellent actors? Food for thought, huh? Yes, that's enough. Remember, this is all subjective. I shared but one angle. Brain hurt. Okay, moving on. Now, I can't tell if this is just me reading far too deeply into the animation of the game, but the little ice golems, like the one who were just to the right of that shop and on the screen beforehand, the ones that first showed up in Howling Grotto, I believe, I swear their animation shows them beating the ground to the beat of the music, and if it is, that's just a really cool detail. Makes me wonder if they deliberately placed them in such a way where they spawn on a certain beat. I love animation details like that if I'm not reading too deeply into it. I know they did change some animations from like early beta footage just to either better fit the experience or to reference other things. There's one particular reference to Shatterhand even later on that was not in the original game footage. I'll talk more about that when we get to it. But that's one of those where if that's there, I like it. I always love when the games acknowledge the music. I don't know why, I just find it really funny. Now, the Glacial Peak is probably the most dire platforming in the game, because there's a lot of just bottomless pit below you throughout good portions of the stage, because the stage is overall very vertically structured, just like Searing Crag. However, even compared to Searing Crag had very few bottomless pits. This has a lot of them because there's a lot of times you're heading left over overhangs, over the fall back down. Thankfully, it doesn't put you back to the start of the level, but it does kill you, and let's be real, that sucks just as much. The main gimmick for this stage, so to speak, beyond the ice surfaces, is the little thing that just fell down. Frozen torches, interesting. There are two notable ones. One is these weird little bubbles that just bounce you up. They're trampolines, essentially. And the other are those little ice ridges hanging off certain cliffs. Despite what they might look like, whenever you see one of those ice ridges, you can cling onto any part of them. But the moment you touch them, they start falling down. So you need to either climb up them or jump up them more quickly to assure you don't meet a, probably, demise. You probably don't... That was grammar, but let's be real. My grammar's never been the best. Also, a lot more moving platforms in this stage than the previous ones. Again, they're just stepping up the difficulty bit by bit. Though I will always take a bit of time shard goodness. I don't know why. This is just like visual memory representation. But whenever I see a time shard, I think of those weird little creamsicle things that like... I think the major popsicle brand makes them. I never liked those things, but the color scheme just always reminded me of them. It's one of those things that my brain just does. We all have those things that immediately remind us of things they probably shouldn't, and that's always just been one of the biggest key factors of it for me, is whether or not it's a visual thing. We also are introduced to, I think this is where we're introduced to them at least, specific lanterns that move up as we attack them, and we need to constantly use them as cloud step elevators. You're gonna need to get used to seeing these, especially because they are very prevalent later on in the game. But a good way to go around them without having to massively just spam the cloud step is to use the mid-air attack I got last part. Also, hey, this guy again. We haven't seen him since... Bamboo Creek? And he's gone again. Okay. I don't see the point, but I'll take it. This is the one point in the stage where they really want you to take advantage of the little ice ridge thing. Most of the time, you can just jump right up to the top of one of them, or at least to the top point where they're connecting to the ridge. But not so much there. Now, we're coming up on the power seal we can get for right now on this stage, and that took me a bit longer to get this one than I'd like to admit in my first playthrough. Not in the fact that I missed it, it's more so that I kept on falling, because that particular enemy kept knocking me down like that. Thankfully, second try is relatively simple. It's probably one of the easiest power seals to get in the game, honestly. Mind you, the ones we can get throughout our first trek through is relatively simple. That sentence makes sense. I think I may have forgotten some words in there. Sometimes I hear myself do that in recordings after the fact, and I just go, what? How? But sometimes when I talk, my brain just skips words, and then my brain thinks I said them. It's weird. I might have a good voice, but my talking skills are very hit and miss. I died here in this level more than I'd like to admit on my first playthrough, though, because I just suck at long sections where there's bottomless pits. I always have. Because even more so than spike phobia, thanks to Mega Man, bottomless pits have always been the most anxiety-inducing thing in games to me. They're a necessary death element, don't get me wrong, but you put me over small platforms on top of those, I'm always just going to be a bit shaky. I do believe, though, we are approaching the top of the cliff. In fact, yes, here we are. Let's see what the shopkeep has to say about the upcoming boss. Shopkeep? Music? Maybe I can check the chest. I'd rather not touch this while the shopkeeper's away. Okay. We can check the cabinet. Cabinet. You really thought it would be that easy? Yes. I told you already, the cabinet's off limits. Please stop. We're not doing a special edition of the cabinet rant. I mean it. Don't be that guy. You're being that guy. Fine, be that guy. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crazy how countdowns give you the feeling that something's about to happen, huh? But yeah, I got nothing. If you're hoping for something special, just give up on the cabinet thing already. The cool stuff's up ahead. Did I ever tell you about the guy who stayed late on a Friday night and started writing optional dialogue to add comedic value for those who'll bother looking? Imagine reading his ramblings. By the way, if you feel like the cabinet thing is overdone at this point, I agree, but it's totally on you for keeping on trying to open it. Seriously, you can stop this right now. I mean it. You have the power. Only you can put an end to this optional bit. Which is good, because I got things to do. If I repeat the same thing 3 times, do you think I'm out of flavor text? We're done here. We're done here. We're done here. I can't believe you. Why won't you move on to something productive? Like maybe advancing the quest you're supposed to care about? I'm not gonna lie though, when the time comes, opening the cabinet will blow your mind. And I'm confident in saying this, even though I know you'll be expecting a surprise. So how do you surprise someone who's expecting a surprise? With a meta plot twist, that's how. Now, if you want to know what it is, move on already. I promise it's the fastest way. You're not opening that until the script says you get it to anyway. Okay, I'll start a little bit back to the beginning now. You really thought it would be that easy? I told you already, the cabinet's off limits. Please stop. Come on, that was a good trick. How are you still trying to open this? I thought you would give up when it looked like I was looping. If you keep doing that, you'll have to sit through a boring tirade. It'll be boring and philosophical, and I'll even remove your ability to skip what I'm saying. Fine, here's some insights from Jordan the Wise for you. Life is going to come at you hard, so there are a few things you should know. Most important of all is realizing that you have something to offer the world. But in order to do that, you first must sort yourself out. Lending your ear to the lessons contained in the stories of old is not a bad place to start. You see, as human conscience grew in knowledge, it equally grew in arrogance. We seem to be at this point where the value of stories is lost on us all. Not really caring about morals anymore, we're simply looking to be entertained. But their power on our subconscious is by no means hindered by our intellectual pride. Stories send a clear message to our being, and when told properly can offer guidance in how to live our lives, impacting us in ways sometimes we don't even notice. In fact, recurring themes more often than not represent archetypes and contain lessons on how to or how not to behave. Consider dragons for a moment. Fantasy stories always seem to have them hoarding treasure. Not coincidentally at all, 2 of the biggest innate fears in mammals are fire and reptiles. So dragons are really a metaphor representing that which you fear the most. Now why would an immortal fire-breathing reptile care to sleep on a pile of gold? The answer can be read between the lines. The treasure you seek is guarded by your greatest fear. Don't get me wrong, the pile of gold is as much a metaphor here as the mighty beast that doesn't even exist. Find your dragon and slay it, then your treasure will be revealed. This is the wisdom storytellers of old were trying to convey, only they didn't have the scientific method, a framework by which to structure arguments, or even a high IQ audience. The lesson isn't any less important or relevant today, however. That which you most need to discover within yourself is hidden where you least want to look. Now ask yourself, why were you so curious about my cabinet? Are you a very conscientious person, adamant on leaving no stones unturned? Or have you not mastered your insecurities and the fear of missing out is what's really driving you at this moment? Maybe you're simply hoping to get a laugh out of some unexpected one-liner? Because I'll admit we both know I could kill the mood right now and tell you about how a depressed clown once attempted to lift his mood by eating bowls of confetti. What I'm getting at is, regardless of your motive here, you have clearly demonstrated curiosity and faith that the world holds surprises for those who take an honest look. While that can certainly be said about the world, it's even more true about your inner self. Well, now whether that is scary, insightful, or encouraging depends entirely on how far you've made it on your personal growth journey. Life is made of many exams, most of which will present themselves to you more than once. Betrayal, joy, illness, adventure, treason, cooperation, purpose, loneliness, warmth, loyalty. Indeed, just like the stories old and new, life has recurring themes when testing humans. The important part is not whether or not you pass each test, but that you show up, acknowledge your score, and ponder how it can inform how you should become. From there, everything is there inside of you to help you find your own way. Who knows, the underlying meaning of the messenger's story might even hit you eventually. But for now, let's get back to your adventure. And from there, the dialogue does actually loop. You know, I have to wonder, who had more fun, the guy writing the comedy, or the person writing the philosophical stuff? I'd probably have more fun doing the latter, honestly. Oh, he made it! Does this mean we can do the thing? Keep your hood on, Shorty. He still needs to pass the final test. But I want to do the thing! Now, we need to see how attuned to the scroll he really is. Great. Take it away, prophet. Welcome, messenger. Please hold the scroll aloft so that the prophecy might be fulfilled. See? I told you he was slow. Yeah, you weren't kidding. Please hold the scroll higher than that so that the prophecy might be fulfilled. He made it. Of all would-be messengers, him?
Please pull this off. I really want to do the thing.
A godly awaits you, messenger. Should you survive, find us at the top of the Tower of Time. Well then, that was sudden. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here because this stage and the next stage are kind of long put together. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, the Tower of Time. See you guys then.